How's it going, everyone? It is Tuesday, April 9th, 2024, and this is the video for today. So let's go over the potential picks from the last video, which was Hasbro on a HA reversal alert on the M15. So Hasbro has been holding up pretty well. We got the alert this morning. Pulled back over here. Maybe could have entered at the low of the day over here on Hasbro. Yes, you would have technically got this alert early on the open. I'm not sure if I would have ended up taking this trade, given that the alert came over here on 9:30. But let's say you did. You're like, hey, look, market is pretty dead yesterday. Hasbro pulled back. I got a little buy signal here. I'm going to get into the trade. So if you took it yesterday, you had a chance to pretty much take some nice profits here on the open and get out pretty much around here, 58.28. So you could take a pretty nice, 50-cent win on Hasbro, targeting a pretty small move, 50-cent win, or even a half ATR move like a 65-cent win. Again, we're not looking for anything crazy, just something pretty strong. If you held throughout all of this carnage on the intraday charts, Hasbro has held all of the gains and is looking like it is going to be grinding up higher. So in either case, I think Hasbro would have been on a nice entry point and you could have taken some nice profits. So we're going to take Hasbro as a nice win over here. And let's look at COP because energy stocks are pulling back a little bit. So we got in on this M15 LRSI alert. It tested this and then boom, this is a warning sign. This is a huge warning sign. Why? Because we had this long red candle over here. We grinded up and we should have at least chopped around this level. When we got this pretty strong sell-off at the end of the day, that is your signal to get out of the trade, in my opinion. So what I would have done is I probably would have taken a small loss on COP after seeing this, or even at the end of the next day when it was unable to really close above and it starts to sell off over here. And we're not going to give this stock a ton of room to breathe, and that's because of the market. So I'm going to give COP a loss for this. If you had remember our target was actually targeting the high of the day, not the, and we expected it to clear that level, and we expected the market to hold, right, and not to have any sort of bearish action. When I saw this, look, this is strong stock. It could be pulling back, and that's well and dandy, but I don't think we are in the business of holding it pretty well. So I'm going to give COP a L over here. All right. The other ones we were watching, let's just look up the ones that were on our radar. So we're still watching this Ultra Shorts bounce back a little bit. It's holding pretty well. Pan W we're in. Pan W has been pretty annoying. Gapped up today as the market has been having a down day. Has some strength. It's above this SMA. But I'm feeling a little bit more confident in holding shorts in these new change of market conditions, but I want Pan W to perform, and if it doesn't perform, I am going to cut the trade. Okay, so that's pretty much all we're in here on our. There's another alert over here. Let's keep on going over to the rest of the picks that we're in. So let me talk about Lyft this morning. So Lyft, I ended up taking a loss on the position right around here. I was waiting for a bounce on this stock, and we got one today. We're seeing the bounce, so I took the loss in this position here. So that is going to be a loss from the prior week. I'm going to remove HAS and COP. We're still watching Ulta, and we have our Amazon put credit spread. This is the 72.50, which we got over here. So the 72.50, 172.50, 170 PCS expires this week. I think that's going to be in great shape. We are a very far distance away from that spread, and it can expire worthless. So I'm going to update lift over here. That is going to be a loss. And Amazon will be updated to a win when we get that trade. All right, so let's look at the market today. And as you can tell from the M5 chart, pretty spicy price action. So our longer term market bias, I'm still fundamentally fairly bullish. Nothing I think has changed too much on the macro side. The main story I think is just on the rate cuts, right? How many are we going to get? When are we going to get them? Market has been, as I said in earlier videos, market's been over optimistic about these rate cuts pretty much since the entire rally. And it's been, we had some news, hey, Fed, we're not going to hike any rates, and the market goes up, we're not going to hike any rates. So it's really just like not listening to the Fed at all, which I find kind of funny. But that is kind of the story. We had a little bit of some hot CPI numbers coming in, so we're getting a little worried. But I think the main thing is like, hey, look, man, we just made a really big move. That's like, I think the biggest one of the story, right? Look at this low from 409.21 to 524. That's over 100 points, right? That's like from top to bottom, it's like over a 20% gain. Massive move in the market. And if once the institution decides like, hey, this is a pretty good valuation, this is a pretty good level, this is a pretty good fair price, then they're going to sell. So they decide the fair price and we watch the price action. So technically, as I've been mentioning before, slow down, right? More red candles, more patchy action instead of this nice tight orderly action. And then we've been starting to go a little more sideways. You can see this is starting to bottom out. I think a nice way to show this is just on the 8 EMA over here. It's been, pull back, been going up, pull back, been going up, pull back, and now you can see the trend starting to slow down, right? This is pretty nice and tight. This is getting more dips, more dips, more dips, and now it's actually starting to turn a little bit for the past couple of days, which we haven't really seen in quite a bit. Usually these turns are very brief, so that's kind of one easy way to visually track it. So long-term market bias, before I've shifted to kind of a mildly bullish bias, and even leaning closer to more neutral. It hasn't really done anything. We do have an earnings bid, so I am watching that. We know that this has been a big rally. Bull markets are not just going to fall out, right? I'm not worried about the bottom falling out, but I just don't have any clear sense of where the market's going to go right now. And so I don't feel very confident in taking a lot of swings. I'm more confident in maybe waiting for a dip and getting in on selling premium, so put credit spreads or short out of the money, short selling naked puts out of the money. I'm kind of more interested in that, but I'm not as interested in again taking these very, very long stocks and that we can really stick with, right? Something like a GE. We had the market conditions for this stock to really ride this guy out, but we are I don't think we quite have the market confidence to do so anymore. So I'm going to try to give some more day trading picks. I'm going to highlight a couple of patterns that I've been really like on the day trading side, and we'll see if we can get some of them. So that's my short-term market bias, or my long-term market is kind of mildly bullish, like as mostly bullish as you can be. We haven't really broken down, but this is slowing down. My short-term market bias is a lot more neutral. We had this long green candle, this long red bearish engulfing candle. We've established some resistance over here, and we're trying to take out the halfway point of this candle, and we've not been able to get any close on that so far. So I think that's pretty critical. So if I zoom in over here, and I'm about to actually take a short pretty soon. So let me pull up RCL on the side because I'm going to explain why I like this short in a second. And Oracle has been quite nice as well. All right, so why do I like? Well, let's start with the market bias first because that's going to be a little bit more important. I talked about what swing traders should do, right? I think you should be more on the sidelines, look for the dip or look for a breakout to enter some trades, but I'm not really looking to take a lot of swings right now in these conditions. Don't have a lot of confidence. I find support right here at 513, which we end up sort of confirming today. We did have a higher low over here on support at 514, so we know that there's some buyers there. And resistance is obviously going to be at the top of this range. We also broke the bottom over here, so these are some minor levels. And I also see 524 close to the all-time high as your big D1 resistance. Earlier in the morning, semis, comms, discretionary were all pretty strong. I thought finance and industrials were doing quite weak. Mega cap tech was doing pretty well in the morning. Tech was pretty strong. There was quite a bit of market breadth. The flight to safety assets were strong though. VIX was going up, so that was kind of a minor warning sign. And we had more stocks on heavy buy than heavy sell, so there was some kind of another confirmation of breadth. So I thought it was a decently bullish situation if you look at the market components. But the rising VIX, I think, has been a warning sign when we have these rallies. And we had a drop, so that's another reason it was rising. But when we got these stacked red candles here, that was our major clue. So when I was looking at the buys, this was the day that I saw, pretty much. I was like, hey, okay, well, we had a small gap up. We tested the top end of this range, and then we filled in the gap. Okay, got some long candles, and then we got some choppy price action. So my thinking is, all right, well, this is probably going to be a dead day before CPI. The volume is pretty low. I believe that we were going to find some support at the bottom of this range, and then we'll have a nice opportunity to take some day trade longs. So if you look over here, right, some nice opportunity, right? And then when you reach the top of the range, we establish some resistance, then you can take some day trade shorts. So I was thinking we'd probably maintain the range today, given that what we saw yesterday, and just the fact that we have the CPI tomorrow. I don't think there'd be a lot of movement. So my market bias at this point was maybe a -1 bearish, and in a range bound day, it'll flip from -1 to 1. So, over here, right, like once I see this confirmation of resistance over here, I'll be more bearish. When I see some of this long green candle, we start to climb up, I'm a little bit more bullish. When I see this garbage over here, I'm just neutral, and it's like there's just no point in even trying to really take these tickers. So that was my market bias coming in, and then let me tell, and I kind of determined all these scenarios, right? And this is why I love writing down all my scenarios, is because I was like, hey, look, if we get some long red candles through volume that break through the bottom end of the range, that would get me pretty bearish. And then that's exactly what we got. And this is actually what we are getting right here. This is an excellent breakdown, and I think I am going to trade Oracle over here. I think it sets up very nicely for a PDS. So that is what I'm gonna do. Let's take this Oracle PDS, the 123, 120 for 108. All right, and let's look at RCL. RCL was a very nice pick. It hasn't been going down though, so I need to see it. I like to see it break this trend line with the LRSI cross. Oracle has shown more weakness, and I've scattered out the stocks. So I'm going to tell you why I kind of like these picks, and let's get into the type of the day here. But what we're seeing is volatile conditions, big ranges, big bounces. All right, here we go. Pan W is finally coming back down. God, Pan W, why you gotta do this to me? So we have this huge move down, right? And this one I was like, all right, I started over here. I was like, all right, let me see if this actually gains some traction. All right, we're closing near the low of the day. We got some key bars. We got some heavy volume. We find some support over here. This move starts to rally up. You notice a couple of things. We do manage to get above VWAP, but we preserve most of this move. We're testing the prior day low, and the move up has not been as strong because we get this key bar here. We get sellers knock it down, buyers push it back up. Got to knock down, push back up, and there's all these little red candles here that tell us that sellers are kind of pushing this move down, making it a lot weaker than it needs to be. So this is a tall bounce, so it's not like buyers are just, gonna throw in the towel right away, but I think we're gonna get some decent move on each side. So we waited at the bounce. Now we have all the confirmation, in my opinion, that we need. We have this move above VWAP. We tried to poke above this high. We get rejected, and we get this long key bar through VWAP with some nice volume. Some very, very nice volume. We have this 1OP cross over here that told us to get ready, and we have this LRSI cross. So I think this is an excellent shorting opportunity, and I would expect to see some follow through on a day like this. All right, so my market bias, as you can tell, is I'd say maybe a -2 bullish. If this bounce wasn't so tall, it would be a -3, but this is a pretty tall bounce. Or sorry, -2 bearish, my bad. Because we had a pretty tall bounce, you know, I'm like, hey, I'm not going to be like the most bearish guy in the world, just like, you know, buying my entire account of puts. But I think there's some nice opportunity to take relative weakness shorts on the downside. We're going to gauge the strength of this move over here, the strength of this cycle, and we can see what we can make. So personally for me, close some losing positions over here, and I want to be cautious with all the trades that I'm taking. I really want to take good trades, because when I think market transitions are the toughest thing for me that I faced, and just really not knowing what to look for. And I think that's why I found, you know, like one option in real day trading be very helpful in terms of understanding what are the clues that tell me that, hey, things are changing. So that is our market bias. Day traders, I think there's gonna be some more opportunity now because we have bigger ranges and more ATR. So if I put up, you can see, look, heavy volume, high volatility. If I put up the ATR on SPY, you can see how it has been climbing up. So over here, right, ATR was absolutely just plummeting. We're getting to 3, and now it has been rising considerably because buyers and sellers are fighting. There's a lot of volume, there's a lot of movement. Okay, let's go over a couple of picks that I liked today. So you already saw me take Oracle. I wonder if it filled. Let's see if it filled. All right, it did fill. Okay, cool. So let's go over some setups that I was liking. So Crocs was one I liked early in the day, but this bounce was far too tall for me. And then so I wasn't a huge fan. And I'm going to look at first what the setup on the D1 chart is that I like. And there's a lot of stocks that are very strong. So I want to see stocks that have been cracking down, and we're sort of getting this this D1 reversal. We've been previously focusing on very trendy stocks, but I think these stocks that are cracking down have a lot of opportunity because there is fresh sellers over here. They've kind of reached a pretty sufficient point. And look, we're day trading or maybe taking overnight swings, right? We're not taking longer term bear swings on these stocks. So they represent a really, really nice opportunity. So here's another example here. Sweet Green has been a very strong stock. Today it moved down higher, big bounce over here. Or sorry, really strong move down, big bounce. And if we get below VWAP, it could be an excellent entry point for this. But you can see very bearish price action. And even while the market was going flat, it was being quite bearish. So it was doing very, very well. And I'm going to point out RCL as that was the pick I really liked. So here's RCL. First, let's just look at the chart. It is a decently strong chart, but you can see how, especially cruise stocks, they tend to have this up and down movement. They kind of trend in one way, they pause, and they reverse the other way. I think airline stocks are actually kind of a similar story. Like if I look at something like Dallas, it's like, hey, strong move down, strong move up. This is an okay move down, and then we have a pretty strong move up. So I think these sort of, I don't know, travel or movement kind of stocks, they do sort of move like that. So I know that, okay, well, let's keep looking at the D1 chart before I get to the M5 again. We got this long green candle, and this was a really nice breakout. I would have gone long here, right? It was doing pretty well. And then the stock just compresses from here, March 21st to April 5th. And there should be buyers at this level right over here, right? At 135, there's a lot of support at this level. And today, it breaks that support. So as a very short-term move, you look at first the room. About a $4 ATR stock. And this stock has a room of about, you know, up around till here, about 120.75. It kind of goes with the AVWAP E, the 50 SMA, and the high of right here. They all sort of line up at this level. So that would be the room that you have. Then we look at the M5 chart. This has made a massive leg down. And all I'm really waiting for here is it to break this trend line. I don't want to chase this massive move down because I don't feel great about chasing parabolic moves. I'd rather it you know, pull back in some capacity before I enter. And I'm going to show a really nice sample chart of that in a second. But RCL is a pick I really like. So if it breaks through here, I think you can do shares. I think you can do a PDS. Those would both work pretty well. Oracle was another one. I think that was called out in the chat, and it's looking quite good over here. So we had this gap up, and then you can see as the market rallied, Oracle did sort of rally, and then as the market went flat, Oracle has been selling off. And today it broke the gap. So we had this room to the gap, and we have plenty of room to the SMA 50, which is 118.41. So Oracle has that ATR of about 3. So we could get a pretty decent move in the stock. Stock moved down, it pulled back, and you can say, yeah, you know, this was a tall bounce, right? It wasn't the most relatively weak stock. But what I really like about the bounce is just this what happened in the last hour. So from 11:45 to 12:45, right, this market managed to rally, and then over here the stock managed to just kind of flatline, and then we got this breakdown over here. So that's ended up why I took the Oracle PDS over here, and I think it has a chance to test the low of the day, just like SPY would. So the key to me was this crackdown through major resistance and the D1 trend sort of shifting in its favor. I do really like that position. I think this is a good time to also either take debit spreads or get in shares, because when there's a lot of volatility, right, you don't want to just be buying puts because the IVs are very, very high. If you get a strong move in your favor and then the move compresses, you could get affected by time premium decay. So I think these debit spreads and shares are going to be more effective strategies in this market climate. Okay, so I got to give a pick. So this is going to be a day trading pick, and I think my pick is going to be, it's between RCL and Oracle. I'm not going to lie. I don't like how RCL hasn't been dropping, but I do know that there's some really strong selling pressure on the stock. ANF was pretty nice earlier, but a little bit choppier. Crocs is a little bit too high. I'm going to take another look at, let's see some other stocks coming over here. Let's see if there's any stocks that are making a new low of the day. PSX is pretty nice. Energy has been pretty weak. PSX is pretty good. So over here, pulled back. There's a nice entry point at 1220. Starts to really weaken pretty much as soon as the market starts to flatten out. So PSX is pretty nice. We have an eye on Lulu. And for me, Lulu could be really good. We can see that we hit this compression over here. We know it's a weak daily chart, bearishly on the a weak chart on the daily, and it has these compressions, makes a big move, compresses, and then when it breaks down, we get some nice follow through. So I think that we still have to wait for this to set up, but keep this on your radar. I think that could be a really nice short. AMD has been pretty weak. AMD has been quite weak. Actually, this is a nice lesson bottom pick. I remember a friend was like, hey, I really want to buy AMD like about 2 weeks ago. And I was like, it was right here below the 50 SMA. I was like, let's wait on AMD. Let's not get buying anytime soon. So I'm glad I saved him some money. CI is already very strong. The hard part is like, we need to find stocks that, charts that are not too strong. Some of the selling is some very strong charts. Like MA, I think has a nice amount of potential if it can crack that 50 SMA. That's kind of providing some resistance. So I want to see it crack below that, come back and retest the 50 SMA, and then kind of get off to the races. Let's see over here. The energy has been weak. APA, I think we traded that on the bullish side quite recently. Yeah, that we did. Right, I remember we took it here, got some profit. Looks like energy is quite weak today. Yeah, I mean, if I had to give a pick, if I absolutely had to give a pick, CLX is pretty nice. CLX is a pretty nice chart. overextended. It's filled in the gap. We do have some support somewhere around here. That is a pretty key level. And it looks like, yeah, there is some resistance here from probably back in this range. So CLX is not a bad stock. I think consumer defensive has been pretty weak. If I look at MCD, I remember that was quite weak. I know I saw PEP was weak earlier. Yeah, so there's certainly some weakness in that area. Really should have had this before the video, but you can see my thought process in trying to evaluate the picks. I'm really trying to give like, what is the best pick that I could give. So I think this is what I'm going with. I love RCL. Here's what I want to see. If RCL is below VWAP, we break through this upward sloping trend line on some kind of nice key bar over here, this nice long red candle, and we get an LRSI cross, then I would enter RCL as a day trading short. It would also have to line up with what the market's doing, a 1OP bearish cross and a neutral market. At least a neutral market, or even the worst case scenario would be a mildly bullish market, right? If I'm something like over here, it's a pretty weak condition and RCL is looking weak, then I'd enter. But yeah, that would be my day trade pick of the day. So it'd be an RCL day trade. So we'll take a look at that tomorrow. Let me put this in the picks. RCL short day trade. I think you can do a PDS or shares. There's plenty of liquidity for a PDS. If you're doing a PDS, I'd wait for the bounce. Maybe something like the 131 or maybe a 132, 130, or a 131, 129, something like that could work. Yeah, so that is your pick for today. Hope you guys found this helpful. We're going to take a look at all the picks from the prior videos. And also, let me add this to my YouTube picks over here. So that's it for this video. Hope you guys found it helpful, and we will take a look at RCL tomorrow.